King Pasenadi dreams 16 enigmatic visions and, paralyzed by fear, searches for meaning. Great dreams burst forth from the collective unconscious, overwhelming the ego with their numinous force. The mystery doesn't ask to be solved, but preserved. The door is already open, before any word.
この顔を似てすびずて
A king lies curled up in his sumptuous bed, his eyes wide in the darkness, his body rigid with fear. Around him, an aura of menacing darkness. After 16 powerful dreams, 16 enigmatic visions. King Pasenadi awakens petrified, unable to move, gripped by a fear of death. Jung. Big dreams are a numinous invasion of the collective unconscious that overwhelms the ego. The king is the ego that trembles before the self. Archetypal dreams invade consciousness as a numinous experience, confronting the ego with a reality that overwhelms it. The experience of mystery always begins with a shaking that shatters categories. The dream is the totally other that knocks, nameless and incomprehensible. The beginning of the journey is not an explanation, but a silent shaking. Something unspeakable appears, and the mind falls silent.
ये यज्ञ शक्ति के लिए है, ना कि दया के लिए।
Greedy-eyed brahmins sit in a circle, rubbing their hands as they calculate their gains. The sacrificial pit fills with innocent animals. The brahmins interpret dreams as threats to the king, as omens of misfortune, and prescribe costly blood sacrifices, driven by greed and thinking only of their own gain. It is the autonomous complex that uses spiritual truth for power. It projects its shadow, the scapegoat, to avoid seeing its own greed. The institutionalized shadow complex uses the symbol to project fear onto a scapegoat, fueling violence and greed. The Brahmins reduce mystery to a mechanical cause and effect formula. A bad dream equals sacrifice. They kill the ineffable by labeling it with the label of danger. False knowledge seeks to possess the mystery and transforms it into a commodity. But the sacred cannot be reduced to ritual or currency.
This fire consumes only what is offered, not truth, not mercy, not dharma.
Queen Malika, with a gentle gesture and a gaze of profound intelligence, whispers in the ear of the anguished king, silently pointing toward the horizon. Queen Malika discerns the brahmin's deceitfulness and suggests that the king turn to the Buddha, the true source of wisdom. The soul. It is the relational function that mediates between the ego, the king, and the self, the Buddha. Its inner voice bypasses the logic of fear to recognize true spiritual authority. The soul, as a mediating function, guides the paralyzed ego toward the self, not with answers, but by indicating a direction. Apophatic intuition is not positive knowledge, but a subtraction. Malika doesn't know what dreams mean, but she knows where the answer isn't. She points to a door, not describes it. The true guide doesn't explain the mystery, she knows where the answer isn't. She points to a door, without describing it, and withdraws.
Not mine to hold, only to point. Listen, not to me, but to what breathes behind silence. Listen, not to me, but to what breathes behind silence.
The Buddha, serene and radiant, sits under a tree. Facing him, the king listens. Behind them, a series of fading scenes depict the future decline of civilization, fading bulls, young flowers. The Buddha interprets the 16 dreams as signs of the future decline of the Dhamma, not as personal threats to the king. Fear dissolves. Jung. Dreams can connect to the psychoid layer of reality, where space and time are relative. The dream is not about the shadow of the king, but about the shadow of the world. The archetypal self reinterprets the dream on a transpersonal level. The symbols speak not of the individual shadow, but of the destiny of the collective psyche. The awakened one's explanation is a finger pointing to the moon. The Buddha explains the what, the symbolic meaning, but not the how, the mystery of transtemporal vision. The ultimate question, how can the psyche see the future, is guarded, not violated. The mystery of how one can see beyond time remains intact, guarded in silence. The awakened one's explanation is a finger pointing to the moon. The Buddha explains the what, the symbolic meaning, but not the how, the mystery of transtemporal vision. The ultimate question, how can the psyche see the future, is guarded, not violated. The mystery of how one can see beyond time remains intact, guarded in silence.
The door opens only when the hand lets go.
The awakened one's explanation is a finger pointing to the moon. The Buddha explains the what, the symbolic meaning, but not the how, the mystery of transtemporal vision. The ultimate question, how can the psyche see the future, is guarded, not violated. The mystery of how one can see beyond time remains intact, guarded in silence.
How does time unspool when the scene no seener?
The sacrificial pit is dismantled. The animals are freed from their cages. The king watches the scene with clear eyes, one hand resting on his heart, the other open in a gesture of offering. The king, now serene, returns to his kingdom with a light heart. The synthesis between unconscious fear, thesis, and the false sacrificial solution, antithesis, is the enlightened interpretation that dissolves conflict and leads to an act of love. The solution always lies on a higher plane of consciousness. The transcendent function dissolves conflict. The synthesis between anguish and the false solution generates an act of love rather than destruction. The mystery is not solved, but crossed. Contact with the ineffable has transformed action in the world. The teaching ends not with a definition, but with an ethic of compassion that is the fruit of achieved inner silence. The door has been crossed. There is nothing more to say. The door has been crossed. A stillness remains that is not absence, but inexpressible fullness.